The Lindy Hop is an American dance which was born in the African American communities of Harlem, New York City, in 1928 and has evolved since then. It was very popular during the swing era of the late 1930s and early 1940s. Lindy is a fusion of many dances that preceded it or were popular during its development but is mainly based on jazz, tap, breakaway, and Charleston. It is frequently described as a jazz dance and is a member of the swing dance family. In its development, the Lindy Hop combined elements of both partnered and solo dancing by using the movements and improvisation of African American dances along with the formal 8-count structure of European partner dances. Most clearly illustrated in the Lindy's defining move, the swing out. In this steps open position, each dancer is generally connected hand to hand. In its closed position, leads and follows are connected as though in an embrace on one side and holding hands on the other. There was renewed interest in the dance in the 1980s from American, Swedish, and British dancers, and the Lindy Hop is now represented by dancers and loosely affiliated grassroots organizations in North America, South America, Europe, Asia, and Oceania. Lindy Hop today is danced as a social dance, as a competitive dance, as a performance dance, and in classes, workshops, and camps. Partners may dance alone or together, with improvisation a central part of social dancing and many performance and competition pieces. Lindy Hop is sometimes referred to as a street dance, referring to its improvisational and social nature. In 1932, 12-year-old Norma Miller did the Lindy Hop outside the Savoy Ballroom with her friends for tips. In 1935, 15,000 people danced on Bradhurst Avenue for the second of a dance series held by the Parks Department. Between 147th and 148th Street, Harlem threw itself into the Lindy Hop with abandon, as Sugar Hill residents watched from the bluffs along Edgecombe Avenue. From jazz to swing, 1920s to 1940s, the first dances named as Lindy Hop were born around the time the aviator Charles Lindbergh made his groundbreaking flight across the Atlantic Ocean in May 1927. The most famous Lindy Hop dance, which is not connected to the other Lindy Hop dances, was born in the Harlem Dance Marathon in 1928, where George Snowden and Mattie Purnell reinvented the breakaway pattern by accident. That started a process in which their invention became bigger than it initially suggested. The Harlem dance is the only one of the Lindy Hop dances that survived in the long run. The Harlem Lindy Hop developed probably from 4 possible sources, or some combination thereof: the breakaway, the Charleston, the Texas Tommy, and the hop. A recorded source of the non-Harlem connected Lindy Hop dances is the famed aviator Charles Lindbergh, nicknamed Lucky Lindy, who hopped the Atlantic in 1927. After Lindbergh's solo non-stop flight from New York to Paris in 1927, he became incredibly popular, and many people named songs, recipes and businesses among several other things, after him. Taroy Williams and his orchestra recorded the song, Lindbergh Hop, written by Ted Nixon and Elmer Snowden, on May 25, 1927. The Memphis Jug Band on September 13, 1928 recorded, Lindbergh Hop Overseas Stomp, written by Jab Jones and Will Shade. The first of the Lindy Hop named dances was probably the Lindbergh Hop, which was referred to as Lindy Hop in the headline of an article in Pittsburgh Gazette-Times on May 25, 1927, just 4 days after Lindbergh landed at La Bourgette. The dance was reported to be Broadway's tribute to Lindbergh, and it included 6 basic steps. Later, a Lindy Hop dance was described by columnist Gilbert Swan. He wrote, obviously the first dance named for the Lindbergh flight was the Lindy Hop. Like all trick dances, they will be done in a few theaters and dance halls, where experts appear, and that will be that. Later that year, on September 14th, the Woodland Daily Democrat reported Catherine B. Sullivan describing the Lindy Hop as having been placed 3rd in the Dancing Masters of America New Dances competition, behind the Kickajou and the Dixie Step. The Lindy Hop was also described in reports as the Lindbergh Glide. The journalist reports that Miss Johnson showed a very fast little step, with hops and a kick, whilst holding the arms out, like the Spirit of St. Louis. The footwork is described as dum-da-dum, dum-da-dum, dum-da-dum.